Jacob Reed had built his diner chain from nothing. From late nights in a food truck to 13 bustling locations, he'd poured everything into creating what he believed was a warm, family-first business. But lately, something wasn't right. Customer complaints were stacking up. Staff were quitting faster than HR could onboard. Yet the reports from his managers painted a picture of business as usual. That dissonance haunted him. So Jacob made a decision. If the truth wouldn't come to him, he'd go find it himself. He picked a location 2 hours from HQ, suburban, anonymous. No one there would recognize him. He grew out a scruffy beard, swapped his tailored suit for a hoodie, and ditched the Rolex. The polished CEO became just another tired customer. Or so it seemed. At noon sharp, Jacob walked into the diner. The Mi place buzzed with the clatter of dishes and half-hearted laughter. It wasn't dirty, but it wasn't warm either. Booths worn down, smiles forced. A waitress with dark circles under her eyes approached. Her name tag read, Megan. "Hi there." "Welcome," she said, her voice bright but brittle. Jacob ordered coffee, noticing the tremble in her smile. He watched her move, graceful, efficient, but stretched thin. Orders, drinks, dropped plates. Repeat. Then a voice boomed from the kitchen. "Megan, what's taking so long?" Jacob stiffened. The voice belonged to a stocky man with a stained apron, Rick, the shift manager. Megan flinched. "Coming right up," she said, voice cracking. Jacob frowned. He had built this company on respect and dignity. This wasn't that. As Megan returned with his food, Jacob offered a soft encouragement. "You're doing great." Her eyes flicked up, surprised. She nodded and hurried away. That's when he heard it, the soft sound of crying. Coming from the kitchen. He froze. That voice, it was Megan's. Jacob rose from his booth, a quiet fire burning in his chest. He crossed the dining room with deliberate steps, ears straining to confirm what he thought he'd heard. The sobbing wasn't imagined. It was real, raw, and painfully close. He pushed, opened the swinging door to the kitchen, and the world seemed to narrow. There stood Megan, her shoulders trembling, her face flushed with shame, and her hands clutching a coffee pot she hadn't had time to serve. She wiped at her eyes, trying to hold it together. Rick stood nearby, arms crossed, towering over her with the authority of someone who had mistaken fear for respect. His scowl was deep, and his tone was anything but professional. "I haven't had a break in 6 hours," Megan choked out, her voice barely above a whisper. "If you can't handle the pressure, maybe you're in the wrong job," Rick snapped. Jacob's fists clenched at his sides. "Is there a problem here?" His voice cut through the room, calm yet commanding. Rick spun around, caught off guard. No, just a miscommunication." But Jacob didn't buy it, not for a second. He looked at Megan, then back at Rick. "She looks like she needs a break. Let her sit down." Rick scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "We're short-staffed. No time for breaks during lunch rush." Jacob's jaw flexed. "There's always time to treat people with respect." There was a beat of silence, thick, tense. Then a voice spoke up, hesitant but strong. It was Connor, the young cook Jacob had noticed earlier. He didn't raise his voice, but there was resolve in it. "Megan's been going nonstop since she clocked in. She hasn't even had water." Rick turned on him instantly. "Stay out of it, Connor. Focus on your station." Jacob's eyes shifted between them. Connor's loyalty, Megan's exhaustion, Rick's toxicity, it all painted a picture more damning than any spreadsheet ever could. "And who's responsible for making sure your team can do their jobs?" Jacob asked Rick. "Because from where I'm standing, the pressure isn't the problem. The way you're running this place is." Rick bristled. "I'm just doing my job." Jacob took a step closer. "If I were your boss, I'd say you're doing it all wrong." Megan looked at Jacob, puzzled. She still didn't know who he really was. But for the first time, she saw someone standing up for her. "She's taking 5, Jacob said, and this time there was no room for debate. Rick opened his mouth to protest, but Jacob raised a hand. "She's taking a break, now." Reluctantly, Rick backed down, his authority shrinking as Megan shuffled out the door, wiping her eyes. Jacob turned back to Rick. "What's your name?" "Rick." "And how long have you been managing here?" "2 years." Jacob's expression darkened. 2 years, and this is what it's come to? Overworked staff, customers complaining, managers screaming at employees in front of cooks and customers? Rick folded his arms, defensive. "You don't know how hard it is to keep things moving. I've kept this place running." "Running?" Jacob scoffed. "You're burning it to the ground and calling it management." Rick huffed. "Well, you're not my boss." Jacob stared at him, letting the silence stretch. Not yet, he thought. He turned and walked back to the dining room, slipping into his booth. Megan returned to the floor minutes later, moving more slowly now, her face red but her hands steady. Still, she smiled at every customer. Still, she showed up. Jacob watched as Rick peered out from the kitchen, his glare as sharp as a knife. Connor worked in the back with quiet focus, glancing at Megan from time to time. Jacob took out his phone and began typing notes. Rick's aggressive tone, Megan's 6-hour shift without a break, Connor's quiet courage. Customers complaining. The truth wasn't hidden. It was screaming through every interaction. When Jacob asked for the check, Megan approached, still guarded but trying to be polite. "Thanks for stopping by. Sorry again about earlier." "No need to apologize," Jacob said, sliding cash into the billfold. "You're doing great." Her smile, this time, was real. As she walked away, Jacob stood and headed for the door, but not before one last look back. Megan was refilling a coffee cup, Connor was still at the grill, and Rick was barking another order. Jacob pulled out his phone. "Janet," he said when his assistant picked up. "Clear my schedule for tomorrow. I need everything we have on the staff at the suburban location. Employee files, reviews, all of it." There was a pause. "Got it," she replied. "Anything else?" Jacob stared back at the diner. "Yeah. Get my regional managers ready. We need to talk. Because tomorrow..." Jacob wasn't just showing up. He was coming back with power, and no one would see it coming. The next morning, Jacob returned to the diner. But this time, he wasn't just watching. He had a plan. He wore the same scruffy hoodie and glasses as before, blending in with the early breakfast crowd. The room was quiet, humming with the clinks of silverware and soft murmurs. No rush yet, just time. Megan moved slowly across the floor, her usual cheer dimmed. The weariness in her eyes hadn't faded. Jacob flagged her down gently. "Hey, Megan," he said softly. "Got a minute?" She glanced at the tables. "I guess, but I can't stay long. We're short-staffed again." "I understand," Jacob said. "I just want to ask, how long have you worked here?" She blinked, surprised. "About 8 months, why?" Jacob leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You look like you carry more weight than you should. Is it always this busy?" Megan hesitated, her eyes darting toward the kitchen. "It's not just the customers," she whispered. "It's Rick. He's under pressure, sure, but we're the ones who take the brunt of it. No breaks, no support. It's exhausting." Jacob nodded, absorbing every word. "And Connor?" he asked, her face softened. "He's new, but he actually cares. He helps when he can. If it weren't for him, I probably would have quit." Before Jacob could respond, the kitchen doors slammed open. Rick barged in, barking instructions. Megan tensed, her shoulders stiffening. Jacob watched him stalk through the kitchen, commanding like a tyrant. Then, the moment broke. An older man in plaid flagged Megan down. "These eggs are overcooked," he grumbled. "I'm really sorry about that," Megan said with practiced grace. "Let me have the kitchen fix it." "Maybe try doing it right the first time," he muttered. Before Jacob could react, Rick charged from the back. "What's the problem here?" he snapped. The customer waved him off. "She's handling it." But Rick didn't stop. "How many times do I have to tell you to double-check orders? This is basic stuff, Megan." "That was it." Jacob stood, His chair scraped loudly across the floor, halting every conversation in the diner. "That's enough," he said, voice sharp as glass. Rick turned, irritated. "And who the hell do you think you are?" Jacob reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He flipped it open, revealing his company ID. "I'm Jacob Reed," he said with quiet force. "I own this diner and 12 others just like it." Time froze. Megan's hand hovered over a coffee pot. Connor peeked from the kitchen, his knife still in hand. Even the customers stopped mid-bite. Rick went pale, blood draining from his face. I didn't realize—" "No," Jacob cut him off. "You didn't. Because if you had, you would never treat my staff this way. You would never humiliate people who are just trying to do their jobs." Rick opened his mouth again, but Jacob was done with words. "Let's talk." In the back. Jacob's tone was ice. Rick nodded stiffly and walked toward the kitchen. Jacob followed, pausing only to glance at Megan. "I won't let this slide," he said gently. In the office, Jacob closed the door behind them. Rick stood awkwardly by the desk. "Do you have any idea how out of line you've been?" Jacob asked, his voice low but steady. Save it," Jacob cut him off. "I've seen enough. In 2 years, you've taken what could have been a thriving team and poisoned it. Do you know what that does to morale, to customer service, to the reputation of this company?" Rick stared at the floor. "This job isn't easy," Jacob continued. "I get that, but you don't get to beat people down because you're under pressure." "I can change," Rick stammered. "You're done," Jacob said, flatly. "Effective immediately." Rick's head shot up. "Wait, you can't." "I can, and I will. HR will process your severance, but you are no longer part of this company." Rick stood there for a moment, stunned. Then he left without another word. Jacob exhaled and rubbed his eyes. He didn't enjoy firing people, but letting this continue? That would have been the real failure. When he stepped back into the dining room, every eye followed him. Megan and Connor stood near the kitchen, frozen in uncertainty. Jacob took a deep breath. "I want to thank all of you for your hard work," he said, voice projecting across the room. "Starting today, things are going to change." He turned to Megan and Connor. "You two, meet me after your shift. We have some things to talk about." The tension began to ease. Whispers replaced silence. Hope flickered in the air. Jacob knew it wasn't over. But for the first time in a long time, he was doing more than running a company. He was fighting for the people in it. When the final customer left and the open sign flipped to closed, a quiet stillness settled over the diner like dust after a storm. Megan and Connor stood awkwardly by the counter, unsure of what to expect. Both looked drained, eyes, heavy uniforms stained from another day in the trenches. But this time there was a flicker of something different, not fear, not anxiety. Something that had been missing for a long time, hope. Jacob motioned them toward a booth at the back. "Let's sit," he said. They followed him, sliding into the vinyl seats across from their CEO. The man they had unknowingly served coffee, to now sat across from them without the disguise, without the mask. Just a man with sleeves rolled up and truth in his eyes. Jacob leaned forward, elbows on the table. His voice was gentler now, stripped of corporate polish. "First off, thank you. I know today was heavy, but the way you both handled yourselves, with patience, grace, and strength, that didn't go unnoticed." Megan looked down, unsure how to respond. Connor fidgeted with a napkin. "I didn't realize things had gotten this bad," Jacob continued. "That's on me. I've been too far removed, too caught up in spreadsheets and summaries. I built this company to be about people, but somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that." There was a pause. Then Megan, voice quiet but steady, spoke. "It's not all bad," she said. "I mean, I've worked worse jobs, but it's been hard. We care about this place. We care about each other. We just wish it felt like someone cared about us too." Her words landed like a stone in Jacob's chest. Connor added, "I didn't plan to stay long, but I couldn't leave, not with how much Megan and the others deal with. Somebody has to have their back." Jacob looked at them both. guilt and resolve mixing in his gaze. "Well," he said, voice firmer now, "that changes starting today." He straightened in his seat, pulling out a notebook filled with notes, ideas, and scribbled plans. "Here's what's happening," he began. "First, we're bringing in a new manager, someone who knows how to lead with empathy and integrity. Until then, I'll personally be overseeing this location. I'm not going anywhere until this place is back on track." Megan's eyes widened. "You're staying?" Jacob nodded. "For as long as it takes." Connor leaned in. "And Rick?" "Rick is not coming back," Jacob said simply. "Not today. Not ever. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior, and neither should you." Both employees visibly relaxed, shoulders easing for the first time in hours. "Second, we're fixing the staffing structure," Jacob continued. "No more short shifts, no more skeleton crews on weekends. We're hiring new team members, and you'll get real breaks. You can't serve others if you're running on empty." Megan let out a small, almost disbelieving laugh. "That would be amazing." Jacob smiled. "And third," he said, his tone softening, "I want to recognize the two of you for everything you've done to hold this place together." He turned to Connor. "You've shown leadership even when no one gave you the title. That changes now. Effective immediately, I'm promoting you to assistant manager. Better hours, better pay. You've earned it." Connor blinked. "Wait, seriously? I don't even..." Jacob raised a hand. "You're already doing it. Leadership isn't about authority. It's about stepping up when no one else will. And that's what you did." Connor looked stunned, then nodded slowly, eyes glassy. "Thank you," he whispered. Jacob turned to Megan. "And you, 8 months of loyalty, compassion, and strength. I saw the way you kept going even when it hurt. I saw how you handled customers, how you protected your coworkers. You've gone above and beyond." Megan's lips trembled. "I'm just doing my job." "No," Jacob said. "You're doing more than that. Starting next week, you're getting a pay raise, and we're rolling out a bonus system for staff who go the extra mile like you." Megan's hands flew to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears she'd been holding back for weeks. "Oh my God." "Really?" Jacob nodded. "Really?" She exhaled, shakily. "Thank you, I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Jacob said gently. "You've already shown me everything that matters." They sat in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that settles after a truth is spoken and received. Then Jacob laid out more: a renovation budget for the aging equipment, a better scheduling system, and regular team meetings where every voice could be heard. By the time they got up from that booth, something had shifted. Not just policy, not just leadership, but culture. It was the beginning of something new. And this time, Jacob wasn't leading from behind a desk. He was leading from within. The next few weeks unfolded like a slow but steady sunrise, shifting the diner from survival to healing. Jacob kept his word. Every morning, he showed up in jeans and rolled sleeves, ready to scrub counters, flip pancakes, or just listen. Customers noticed the difference almost immediately. The food didn't taste any different, but the smiles, they were real. The atmosphere, warmer, and Megan, she looked like someone slowly remembering how to breathe. Connor adjusted quickly to his new role. Nervous at first, but steady. He asked questions, took notes, checked in with the team even when things got chaotic. People respected him because he wasn't barking orders. He was in the trenches with them. A week after Rick was let go, Jacob brought in the new manager, Denise, a veteran. In hospitality with a voice like calm rain and eyes that missed nothing. At her first team meeting, she didn't start with policy. She started with a question. "What's one thing you wish someone had asked you here before today?" It was quiet at first. Then Megan spoke. "I wish someone had asked if I was okay." That moment opened the floodgates. Stories came out. Moments of burnout, missed breaks, shifts worked through illness, and always the same undertone: silence, fear, and a need to survive. Jacob sat at the back just listening, and that's when it truly hit him. It wasn't just one bad manager. It was a culture of endurance, a system built on squeezing more from people instead of building with them. After that meeting, Jacob made more calls. He didn't stop at this location. He visited every one of his 13 diners over the next 2 weeks, unannounced in disguise, always observing first. In more than half of them, he found warning signs: stressed staff, absentee managers, corners being cut. He took notes, talked to staff, fired 2 more toxic managers, promoted 4 line cooks, doubled the HR field visits, and in every location, he left behind one promise: you matter. And from now on, this company acts like it. Back at the original diner, change was visible. The worn booths were replaced, the equipment in the kitchen updated. A suggestion box appeared near the coffee station, not as a gimmick, but a real tool Jacob read from daily. One afternoon, as Jacob prepared to return to headquarters for the first time in weeks, Megan stopped him at the door. She smiled, eyes bright. This place, it feels alive again. Jacob returned the smile. It always had a pulse. We just stopped listening to it. She hesitated. You're going back to corporate now? For now, he said. But I'll be back. This isn't over. It's just the beginning. Connor joined them, wiping flour from his hands. Denise just said we hit our highest customer satisfaction in 2 years. Jacob chuckled. Told you. Leadership starts in the little things. He stepped outside, took a deep breath of spring air, and dialed a number. Janet? Yes, Mr. Reed? Start working on a new initiative. I want leadership training required at all manager levels. Empathy-based, ground-level focused. Got it. Anything else? Jacob looked back at the diner. Megan and Connor stood side by side inside, chatting with a new hire. Yeah, schedule me to visit our Ohio and Florida branches next month. Same approach, no press, just boots on the ground. As he hung up, Jacob realized something deep and undeniable. He hadn't just changed the diner. He'd changed himself. Comment below. Would you speak up like Connor? Or stay silent like most do?